Greetings, this is Neil, your relationship coach. Here's another episode of Keeping Your Best Love. So what we like to do before any broadcast, do a self-evaluation of your relationship. Are you in ecstasy? Are you happy? Are you content? Are you fearful? Or are you just miserable in your current relationship? After you make that assessment, then think about where you are and act on it. So if you're happy, then let them know that you're happy. If you're miserable, then do something to fix it. All right. Now, the title of this episode is it worth it? Is what worth it? Is your relationship worth staying together for the long haul? So we got 10 individual criteria. There could be a lot more. We're going to use 10 different criteria to help you assess, is your relationship worth it? Worth all the arguing and bills and kids and people nibbling your relationship. I mean, all types of stuff that you go through. Sometimes you just want to is all this worth it? So let's look at it. First thing, it will be 10 items. The first thing you want to look at is what you have sustainable. What does that mean? Sustainability means that can your relationship survive the test of time? Do you see yourself being with this person for the duration of your life while you on this side of the ground? You have to be able to assess that and see, is this the person that you want to be with for that long? All right. The next one is, how do you fight? How do you two fight? If y'all never got into a really good fight or a bad argument, I would say you need to learn a little bit more about them. Now, I ain't talking about fist fighting, beating up one another. I ain't talking about that kind of foolishness. I'm talking about an argument where emotions are high, you're strongly disagreeing. What happens? So, does your significant other shut down when y'all have a disagreement? They give you the silent treatment, they don't want to talk to you? Or do they become angry and want to throw stuff? Do they scream at you? Do they call you out your name? If you're talking to them, do they ignore you? You got to find those things out. Can you handle the way they fight? Because we all fight differently. Some are verbally abusive. Some are physically abusive. Some act like nothing ever happened. They could care less about what happened. Can you handle them at their worst? 3, are they committed? How committed are they in the relationship? How committed are you in the relationship? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to make your relationship work? Are they 100% committed to making the relationship work? Are you two 100% committed to making each other happy? How committed are you? In this particular case, things are going to go wrong. Things are going to come up that you don't expect. But if you two are committed to making it work, then it will work. Sometimes you got to compromise. Sometimes you got to be the better person. Sometimes you got to kind of step back. Sometimes you got to take the lead. Sometimes you got to follow. Sometimes it comes to a point that where if you two can't come to a resolution, you get a mediator, whether it's someone that's neutral between the two of you all, or go to a professional counselor to do whatever it takes to make it work. So if it gets to a time where you guys can't quite get it together, are both of you guys willing to go seek help? Or someone saying, I don't need no help, we all right, or whatever. And normally, it's a little sidebar, if somebody in the relationship is refusing to take counseling, they're probably the problem. They're probably the ones that don't want to be corrected. They probably want to keep on doing what they've been doing from the beginning. So then, if a person's unwilling to be accountable or unwilling to change, then you got to make a decision. You have to make a decision, a personal decision. Can you tolerate that? If the answer is no, then y'all got to do something different. Just a sidebar. 4, can you accept their flaws? Now, some people don't clean up behind themselves good. Some people have they don't the clothes be wrinkled. They don't want to iron their clothes. Some refuse to cook. Some refuse to do lawn work. Me personally, I think a woman that does not want to cook for her man is just as bad as a man that won't dump the trash or won't see about the cars or won't cut the grass. Just as bad. Call me chauvinist. Don't matter. But can you accept their flaws? And can they accept yours? Everybody got something wrong with them. But are they willing to, with those particular flaws, make compromises or change or do better in those areas if they see they're irritating you? So can you handle their flaws? Boom. 5, do you guys have the same vision? What I mean by vision is y'all might not like the same things. You might not have the same purpose, but you want to get to the same destination. So you got a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. How much money you want to have in the bank? Where do you want to live? Where do you see yourself driving or living in or wherever you are? I mean, do you want to see yourself at a higher position on your job? Or how far do you want your business to have made a certain amount of revenue? Just different marks. There's different ways to get to the same destination, but your vision is, where do you see your family at in the future? Whether it's the 2 of y'all or the 2 of y'all and kids. All right. Next one. Are you guys equally yoked? Now, the Bible talks about being equally yoked as far as religion. So you have a Muslim and a Christian. Do they get along? You got a Buddhist and a Hindu. Would they get along? That's one part of being equally yoked, but also from an intelligence standpoint. Now, my mom is big on degree. You can have a woman with a degree. That don't matter if somebody has a degree or not. But can you communicate with them on the same level? So, like, if you want to talk politics, can they talk that back? Religion or current events or history or whatever. Are y'all equally yoked as far as intelligence goes? Do you feel like you guys have the same amount of intelligence and common sense with one another, where it's not a conflict if it's not? Now, granted, if one's smarter than the other and the smarter person is like, that's fine, I don't care, I just love you, it doesn't matter, then that's one thing. So it's an individual basis. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. It's what works for your particular relationship. Here's a huge one. To have a sustainable relationship, to find out if it's worth it or not. Are they accountable? That is huge. So when they're wrong, do they admit that they're wrong? Or do they just lie about it? Or when you call them out on something they did wrong, the next thing they do is get at you on something you did wrong, instead of saying, okay, yeah, I messed up, whatever, I need to fix that, whatever, and come and apologize and move on. Are they accountable? When you ask them to do something, do they do it? Or do they just make a bunch of excuses? Can you depend on them? Can you trust them? Can you rely on them? If you give them bill money, will they pay the bill, or will they go down to the casino or the those little slot machine houses or whatever? Go to the liquor house with it. Can you trust that person? Are they accountable? The next one is sex. How is sex? Is it good? Is it average? People are kind of iffy about talking about sex. They think once you reach a certain age that you should know what to do. You should already know what these things are, but people don't understand that different people have different requirements. So you shouldn't be afraid to ask your mate or inform your mate on what you require. Now, some things you can't, trying to keep this PG, but some things you just can't replicate. Or certain things you just can't come up with. And what I mean by that is if there's physical limitations with that particular individual, or if there's medical implications with that individual, then that's something that you guys have to deal with collectively and talk about. I'll leave that one alone. This one's huge. What about children? What about children? If you want to know, is it worth it to stay together? Y'all have to come together about these children. Children can mess a relationship up, up, especially when you're dealing with a step situation, when you got step kids involved, where you're forced to make a decision. Do you take the side of your spouse or your girlfriend or your significant other, or do you take the side of your child? Because they're going to get into it. You got to figure that out. Now, biblically, and my personal belief is that you should definitely side with the person you go to bed with every night. That's who you should decide with. Now, some people might have a difficulty with that. But then when it's all said and done, when you're dealing with conflicts like that, you just basically have to look at the situation and determine where the fault lies. And then if you look at the situation and saying this person was disrespectful, this person was out of line, this person was out of bounds or whatever, then you sit down as a group and you talk about it and come to a compromise. But it ain't easy. Another part of children is the baby mama and the baby daddy stuff. Are they meddling in you guys' relationship? Do they have control over what goes on in your household? Is there a possibility that they might be trying to infiltrate or to harm your relationship just out of spite because they don't want to see you happy with no one else? You two have to come together with that. And one of the most useful ways to deal with that baby mama drama is switch roles. What do you mean by switch roles? So if she calls the baby daddy, let your girlfriend answer the phone, or let your wife answer the phone. Deal with me. Now, they may not be on good terms, but if, deal with me. And you flip it. Meet in, don't go to each other's houses. Meet in a central or a specific location when you're switching kids. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do. But the main thing is that you definitely have to have a plan on how you're going to handle these kids if there are kids involved. And if there's no kids involved, be clear on if you want to have kids or not. All right? And here's the biggest one. What is their state of being? So if you want to find out if it's worth it or not to stay with that person, you have to see what their state of being is. What I mean by that, where do they fall here? I'm talking about on an individual basis. Are they miserable all the time? Are they fearful? Scared something finna jump off? Are they just content? Are they happy? Or are they in ecstasy of themselves? Ecstasy about themselves. They're confident, they're fulfilled, they're motivated, they're courageous. Where are they? That's so important. Then you have to definitely assess where you are. Are both of you guys vibrating at a high level, at a high frequency level? That's the only way a relationship will work. That's the only way. If you got two miserable people y'all both going to be miserable. If you have one person that's happy and one person that's miserable, the miserable person is going to drag down the happy person. Understand this. It is impossible. I'm talking about impossible to please or fulfill a broken person. So whether they were broken before you got them or you the one that broke them, trust and believe there is no way to please or satisfy a broken person. And this is why. All a broken person is they're dealing with negative energy inside of their subconscious that they haven't dealt with yet. And the only way that they can get rid of that pain is on a subconscious level. But we try to help them on a conscious level by buying them things, giving them compliments, taking them places, so on and so forth. Well, that's not going to get it. So, if you want to figure out if it's worth it or not, think about this. Is that person willing to do whatever it takes to make you happy? I'm talking about a selfless type of giving to where they'll put your needs ahead of their own. That's hard to find, y'all. So if you're in that particular situation and you feel the exact same way about that person, then it's absolutely worth it to go through whatever you got to go through to make it work, because at the end of the day, don't nobody want to die alone. All right. So if you want to email me, you can email me at coachingrelationships@yahoo.com, or you can check me out on my Facebook page, Keeping Your Best Love. And until we meet again, peace and hair grease.